Thank you, Mr. Forbes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here today. And I want to just say how much we respect your office, and I hope that you won't conclude that it's disrespectful if we try to get your answers concise enough to fit into the 5 minutes we have, but it's just oftentimes so difficult for many of us, at least on this side, to get information from the Department of Defense. One of the things that we saw on January the 26th, when your Deputy Secretary, Mr. Lynn, was here, he testified that the Department had failed to comply with the law requiring audited financial statements be filed annually in the years 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, all years, of course, that you were Secretary of Defense. And my first question is, for any of those years, 2007, 8, 9, or 10, were you unaware that the law required that DoD file audited financial statements?
I certainly was not aware that we were in violation of the law.
So you did not know that you were in violation of the law. The second question, Mr. Lynn further testified that no such statements would be filed this year, but he said that it was a priority of the Department of Defense that you get in compliance and that you had a plan to do it. Has that always been a priority of yours since you've been Secretary of Defense?
Yes, it has, and in fact, I think if you go back to testimony 4 years ago, the person who had the job before Mr. Hale had begun the planning and execution of getting us to a position where we could comply with the CFO law.
Mr. Secretary, if I could, I don't know if we have an opportunity to put it up on the screen, but hopefully we will, and on the monitors. But if not, there's a chart right over here, and there it is going, but it might be hard to see. But you can see this screen over here, and I'm wondering if you recognize that website at all. And the reason I say it, just to refresh your memory, there's a copy over here, and I know it's hard to see, but this is your website, and this is live. This is not something on the screen that we made a copy of. This is what you would have seen at that testimony you're talking about in 2007, or if we'd have done it in 2008, 2009, 2010, or if anybody were to go to it today, and it says this website's designed to provide all the information you need to understand the budget and financial management policy of the Department of Defense. And Mr. Secretary, what it clearly states on there, if we'd have had that testimony then, is that the Department of Defense would have been in 100% compliance and given 100% audited financial statements by the year 2010. But in point of fact, according to what Mr. Lynn testified, the Department was off 100%. Is that not accurate, in that we've filed no audited financial statements?
Well, we certainly have not filed clean audits, that's for sure.
And Mr. Secretary, a question I'd have for you is, would you authorize, you've been given by taxpayers of this country $2.5 trillion essentially since you've been Secretary of Defense. Would you authorize the expenditures of these sums if you were not convinced there were adequate accounting systems in place to know where they were being spent?
Mr. Forbes, I am confident that we have the financial processes, all of which were, by the way, designed for budgetary planning and which the Congress has relied on for a long time, that give me confidence that we know where the money is going. Can we do the kind of audits that are required by the CFO? No. But we are spending between $200 and $300 million a year to get in compliance. We have a short-term and a long-term plan to get there, which I would be happy to share with the committee. So we understand our obligation to get to this, but the reality is we do have systems in place to deal with fraud, to deal with other issues, and that provide us with the tools to do financial management and
Mr. Secretary, I don't want to cut you off, but I only have about 40 seconds left. And the reality is this: we were 100% off. And I want to be kind and I want to be respectful, but the reality is that taxpayers have entrusted your department with $2.5 trillion, and here's the way we basically repay them with the accounting. You call it discipline and decision-making, but we've issued gag orders to stop people from the Pentagon and talking to members about Congress about where those dollars are. Didn't get a shipbuilding plan in the year it was required by law. didn't get the aviation plan in the year it was required by law, haven't had the audited financial statements required by law, and the cuts that you give us, Mr. Secretary, we only get backfilled information. And, Mr. Chairman, I know my time is up, and so I'll yield back.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Secretary Gates and Chairman Mullen. I think we all applaud you for your extraordinary service, and I certainly want to add my voice as well. Since you said, Secretary Gates, that this is your last budget, I believe also, Chairman Mullen? Is it your last budget as well?
As far as I